Good day, everyone. Today, I'll be presenting my analysis on strategic thinking based on Sun Tzu's The Art of War, specifically focusing on the principle avoid strength and strength weakness. This presentation examines how this ancient strategic philosophy remains highly relevant in modern business management. I will discuss the strategic logic behind this principle, connect it with modern management theories, and analyze two contrasting organizational cases, which is the success of AirAsia and also the downfall of Nokia. The Art of War by Sun Tzu is one of the most influential strategic works in history. Although it was originally written for military warfare, many of its principles are now widely applied in business strategy. Modern organizations operate in highly competitive and rapidly changing environments, which resemble battlefields filled with uncertainty and rivalry. One of Sun Tzu's most important principles is to avoid strength and strike weakness. Instead of directly confronting stronger competitors, organizations should identify opportunities where competition is weaker and where customer needs are underserved. This presentation aims to critically analyze this principle and evaluates its practical application through the cases for AirAsia and also Nokia. Sun Tzu uses the metaphor of water to explain strategic thinking. Water naturally flows around obstacles instead of confronting them directly. Similarly, business should avoid competing directly against powerful competitors in areas where those competitors already possess strong advantages, such as strong branding, advanced technology, or economies of scale. Instead, companies should identify weakness within the market, including underserved customers, inefficiencies, or neglected market segments. This principle highlights flexibility, adaptability, and intelligent positioning rather than direct confrontation. Sun Tzu's principle is closely aligned with several modern strategic management theories. First, Porter's generic strategies suggest that companies achieve competitive advantage through differentiation and focus rather than direct price competition. Second, Blue Ocean strategy encourages companies to create uncontested market spaces instead of competing in saturated markets. And also thirdly, disruptive innovation theory, which explains how smaller firms often begin by targeting overlooked low-end markets before eventually expanding into mainstream markets. All these theories reflect Sun Tzu's idea of avoiding strong competitors while exploiting weaknesses and opportunities. Moreover, this strategic approach provides several advantages. Companies can allocate resources more efficiently, reduce direct competitive pressure, encourage innovation, and enter markets more easily. However, the principle also has its limitations. Market opportunities may be temporary, and competitors may quickly imitate successful strategies. In addition, weaknesses within markets constantly change due to technological developments and shifting consumer preferences. Therefore, this principle should not be applied rigidly. Companies also have to remain flexible and continuously monitor the external environment to achieve success. Next, AirAsia provides one of the clearest examples of successfully applying Sun Tzu's principle in modern business. Traditionally, the Malaysian airline industry was dominated by full-service airlines such as Malaysia Airlines. Malaysia Airlines possessed several major strengths including premium in-flight services, extensive route networks, strong international brand reputation, business class seating, complimentary meals, airport lounges, and also entertainment systems, and by far their high quality customer service. Competing directly against these strengths would be extremely difficult for a newer and smaller airline like AirAsia. Instead of entering direct competition, AirAsia deliberately avoid these premium service areas entirely. On the other hand, AirAsia identified a major weakness within the airline industry. Many middle income and lower income consumers in Southeast Asia couldn't afford traditional airline services due to expensive ticket prices. At that time, air travel was often viewed as a luxury rather than an affordable mode of transportation. AirAsia strategically targeted this underserved market segment by introducing their low cost carrier model. The company removed many non-essential services such as free meals, luxury seating, in-flight entertainment, and also premium airport services. Instead, customers only paid for the basic flight ticket and could optionally purchase additional services separately. AirAsia also implemented operational efficiencies such as faster aircraft turnaround times, high aircraft utilization, online ticket booking systems, and use of secondary airports or standardized aircraft fleets to reduce maintenance costs. These strategies significantly reduced operating expenses, allowing AirAsia to offer extremely affordable ticket prices. As a result, AirAsia successfully expanded throughout Southeast Asia and transformed air travel into something accessible for ordinary consumers, students, and first time travelers. Next, this comparison clearly illustrates the strategic differences between Malaysia Airlines and AirAsia. Malaysia Airlines focus heavily on premium customer experiences. Their services include complimentary meals, larger seating spaces, business class and first class cabins, airport lounges, frequent flyer programs, and extensive international routes. These services appeal mainly to the business travelers and also higher income customers. However, these premium offerings also created high operational costs. In contrast, AirAsia focused on affordability and accessibility. Rather than competing on luxury, AirAsia targeted budget travelers, students, families, first-time flyers, and also price-sensitive consumers. For example, AirAsia offered cheaper tickets, simplified booking systems, optional add-on services, and also point-to-point travel without unnecessary luxury costs. AirAsia's slogans "Now everyone can fly" perfectly reflected this strategy. By avoiding Malaysia Airlines' premium strengths, AirAsia created an entirely different market instead of engaging in directly competition. This approach demonstrated a strong application of both Sun's principle and blue ocean strategy because AirAsia generated new demand among customers who previously could not afford air travel. In contrast, Nokia demonstrates the consequences of failing to apply Sun's principle effectively. At its peak, Nokia dominated the global mobile phone market. Its major strengths included durable hardware and reliable devices, efficient manufacturing, long battery life, strong distribution networks, and also global market presence. Popular devices such as the Nokia 3310 became famous for durability and reliability. However, the smartphone revolution completely changed the basis of competition within the mobile phone industry. Competition was no longer focused mainly on hardware durability. Instead, consumers began prioritizing touchscreen interfaces, mobile applications, software ecosystems, internet connectivity, multimedia experiences, and overall user experience. Unfortunately, Nokia failed to adapt quickly to these changes. The company continued focusing heavily on hardware improvements while underestimating the growing importance of software integration and smartphone ecosystems. Meanwhile, Apple identified major weaknesses within the smartphone industry at that time. Existing smartphones were often difficult to use, poorly integrated, and lacked seamless user experiences. Apple responded by launching the iPhone in 2007 together with the iOS ecosystem and App Store. Unlike Nokia, Apple heavily focused on intuitive user interfaces, touchscreen innovation, application ecosystem, software integration, digital services, and customer experience. This completely transformed the mobile phone industry. Next, let us have a look on Nokia and also Apple's focus at that time. This comparison highlights the major strategic differences between Nokia and Apple. Nokia mainly focused on hardware performance, manufacturing efficiency, and incremental innovation. Its phones were durable and reliable, but Nokia underestimated the importance of software ecosystems. In contrast, Apple focused on disruptive innovation, ecosystem integration, customer experience, and software functionality. In short, Apple avoided competing directly against Nokia hardware manufacturing strengths. Instead, Apple understood consumers were no longer purchasing phones solely for calling and texting. Smartphones became platforms for entertainment, productivity, social media, photography, and digital lifestyles. Therefore, it changed the entire basis of competition by shifting focus towards digital ecosystems and software experiences. Nokia failed to recognize this major strategic shift quickly enough. As competitors strengthened their software ecosystems, Nokia remained focused on hardware competition. As a result, Nokia rapidly lost market share while Apple became one of the most valuable technology companies. This case clearly demonstrates that strengths and weaknesses are dynamic and constantly changing. Moving on to graph analysis, this graph further illustrates the contrasting business performances between Apple and Nokia from the year 2000 to 2015. The first graph shows revenue growth trends. Apple experienced dramatic revenue growth after the launch of iPhone in 2007. Revenue continued increasing rapidly due to strong smartphone demand, ecosystem integration, and customer loyalty. In contrast, Nokia's revenue gradually declined over the same period as consumers shifted towards smartphones with better software experiences. The second graph shows net earnings performance. Apple's profitability increased significantly because the company successfully created high value products and digital ecosystems that generated continuous customer engagement. Meanwhile, Nokia experienced declining and unstable earnings due to falling smartphone competitiveness and delayed adaptation. These graphs visually demonstrated how Apple successfully identified market weakness and redefined competition, while Nokia failed to adapt the changing consumer expectations and technological disruption. In conclusion, both cases provide several important strategic lessons. First, successful organizations must continuously monitor changes in technology, consumer behavior, and competitive environments. Second, innovation and adaptability are essential for long-term survival. Companies cannot rely permanently on existing strengths because markets constantly evolve. Thirdly, strategic flexibility is critical. Organizations must be willing to redefine their business models and respond quickly to environmental changes. The most important insight is that strengths and weaknesses are dynamic rather than permanent.